Thank you, Mr. Chairman Hosey. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I congratulate the member for East Ham on securing today's debate. Now, you might expect me as a Member of Parliament for North Norfolk to want to speak in a pensions debate, as I've stood many times in the chamber and said that I represent the oldest constituency demographic in the entire country, where I have a cohort which is 33.4% of my constituents who are over the age of 65. But I'm not actually going to talk about that cohort of people because they have already retired. I'm going to talk about one of the issues which has not been covered quite so much on today's debate, is about just actually getting people, before they retire, mainly the lower paid, into the actual helpful, useful guidance and advice that there is actually there for people. Because there is a fundamental problem facing society and policyholders, that is that most people tend to glaze over when they hear the word pensions. And that became clear to me because I can speak with a bit of authority about it. I used to be a finance director of a medium-sized company employing many people. And what I found is that auto-enrolment, like has been said many times, has been an absolutely phenomenal success. But why? And the reason, quite simply, was because we took away the burden to instigate saving, which was largely reduced and took out the scarce factor. Nevertheless, from running that company pension scheme, I could see firsthand that if people can put off their engagement with their pensions, then they certainly will. And that becomes a real problem. The DWP published new research last week on savers' engagement with their pensions, finding that attitudes to pensions were characterised by detachment, fear and complacency, which acted as barriers to engagement. And I suspect that anybody listening who's been closely involved with pensions will not be surprised by that finding. So there is a real problem. And I'm not talking about people who are well paid. I'm talking about the vast majority of the country, people who are lower paid, perhaps on a shop floor, in a supermarket. Those that are engaging with pensions in those situations, you will find that their pension and their retirement is a long, long way down their list of priorities. And the reason why is because people simply don't understand them. And we know that what you don't understand, you often fear. So the government, in my view, should strain absolutely every sinew to ensure that good paths are put in front of people, rather than expecting savers to self-direct themselves to those paths for help and advice. And there is help. Yet I suspect that if we asked the average person on the street, I bet hardly anybody would turn around and know what the pension-wise service is. Would they know that it's a government-backed service with the offer of free, impartial guidance to over 50s? I doubt it. Would they know that someone can advise you of the options of what you can do with your pension pot? Probably not. So, in my view, we should be promoting this service far, far more. And with that in mind, a question for the Minister is that really we were quite disappointed that the government had a bit of a negative response to the recent auto-appointment proposal for pension-wise appointments as recommended by the Work and Pensions Committee. Pension-wise is popular and it has had a positive impact on the relatively small proportion of savers who do use it. User feedback is excellent, much better than policy makers might reasonably have hoped for prior to its introduction. But more importantly, PensionWise has proven to leave users better equipped for pension decisions. And that encompasses everything we talked about this morning with the excellent speech that was given by the member for East Ham, where people simply are recognising that they don't have enough savings in the first place. So really what we ought to be doing is making sure that we leave users better equipped for pension decisions with the additional benefits of raising awareness of the risks posed, for instance, by scammers. That alone seems like a reasonable request for a trial that should be conducted. And recently there's been further research where the Financial Conduct Authority estimated that a quarter of consumers would consider accessing their pension savings earlier than they had planned due to the cost of living pressures that we face. So, in my view, we really need to get people to PensionWise before scammers, for instance, get to them, and before the point when people who have made pension decisions based on partial or even incorrect understanding of the consequences. I suspect this was the reason that PensionWise was created as a key part of understanding the pension freedoms, and indeed its usefulness to savers presumably explains why the government in 2015 decided to lower the age threshold for PensionWise advice from 55 to 50. So, given the phenomenal success of auto-enrolment, which we have all agreed on, let's pursue the auto-appointment situation as well to really help give the right advice. So, in my summing up, I would say that to the Minister. Repeat that success again. What we saw with auto-enrolment, do it now with auto-appointments, and make sure that people can realise that there is friendly, there is decent professional advice out there which can take away that reticence and that perhaps sometimes scared notion there is about taking financial advice for your retirement. It can be done. We've seen it with auto-enrolment. Let's repeat the success with auto-appointments. Thank you.